Hello everybody, this is Toby Delbruck from the University of Zurich and ETH Zurich. This tutorial I'm going to show you how to open jAER or jAER from within the NetBeans integrated development environment and work on the project, for example, to compile it. So here what I have is the checkout from GitHub of the jAER project. If you don't have that yet, you need to go to jAERproject.org and click on the jAER project and then clone that project here using Git into your desktop environment. If you want to just play around, you can get a zip of this, but I highly recommend that you clone it or fork it so that you can easily update with the latest bug fixes. So here I have that in this folder, jAER folder, and I'm now going to open this project, which has been compiled already, so there's extra files here within NetBeans. So I'm assuming that you've downloaded and installed a Java development kit, a JDK plus NetBeans bundle. In this case, I'm using NetBeans 8.2 and Java 8 update 161, which is the end-of-life update. Future, I'll probably use Java 9 or Java 10, but really the details here shouldn't change. So if you open NetBeans, then you can go and click on Open Project, which is this icon over here, and then you navigate to the folder where you downloaded or cloned or forked the jAER project. And when you come to the jAER folder, you'll see this little coffee icon that says to NetBeans that this is a NetBeans project folder, which means that it has the .NetBeans subfolder and a build.xml, which is an Ant build script. When you open the project, likely when you open it, it's going to show a red arrow and complain about unresolved project properties. But don't worry about those. Once you have the project open, you should ideally be able to just push F11 or go to Debug or Run and just open the project and build it. So if I go to run here and say build project, or simply run the project, if I say build project, the first thing it's going to do in this latest branch of jAER, which is currently called the IV bag reader branch, but it's the development branch, it'll go and download a bunch of dependent jars from using Maven, which is like a software repository for libraries. Once it downloads and gets all those libraries, it'll then start to build the project. And the final step of the project will be to build a Windows launcher. Now you have this launcher already. It's this file right here, jAERviewer_win64.exe. This of course assumes that you're running Windows. Normally you don't need to rebuild this launcher. This is a small Windows executable that starts the virtual machine and launches jAER. Don't worry about that if that doesn't work for you. Because for the most part, as a developer, you're going to be running and developing and debugging within NetBeans. So the normal step is that you open something that you're working on and then simply push the debug project or Control F5, which I'm going to do now, and that should start up jAER and start running it. If you have any trouble here, then go and click on the error or ask for help on the help forum. But this should be a pretty painless process to start up, build, and so on, because it should be completely automatic. Okay, so now it's launching jAER, the AE viewer, which is the viewer here for viewing and playing back and recording data. So that's the normal process of actually launching and starting up jAER from within this NetBeans development environment. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of the structure of the project here. The most important subfolder or subcategory in the projects view, which you can get to simply by resetting the windows. If you just reset in NetBeans the windows, then you come to a view which doesn't show you the actual output. If you want to see the output of the build and Git and other things, you need to go here into Windows and select Output or Control 4. That will show you a window here that has various subtabs for different kinds of output, like building the project, running it, and so on. So for example now, if I now go to a particular source file and build it, you'll see the build results here. So let's go back here to the Projects tab of NetBeans and look at the structure of the project. You have source packages, test packages, libraries, and test libraries. The most important category here is the source folder packages. This contains many Java packages or folders that contain different components of jAER. Don't worry about the complexity of this for the moment, because the easiest way to find a class that you want to open is to do Control-O. I'm not sure where that is here, but there's a way here to go and open, go to type. It easily lets you open any class that you're interested in. For example, if I do go to type or Control-O here and pick an example filter like median filter, this is so I'll pick this one called median tracking filter. This Control-O open to type lets you open any class using camel case. For example, if I say M, capital F, it'll show me a list of things where, in this camel case, where you have a capital M and a capital F in the title. So I'll pick median tracking filter as an example event processing filter. If I go and open that class, you see that it opens with a set of, with a package definition. So you see this is in the package net.sf.jAER.eventProcessing.filter. So it's one of the basic event processing filters. And if I now have picked the option here, view, where I synchronize the editor with views, as soon as I actually click within the source document, it goes to the actual package that has this filter. And you see here a bunch of enclosed filters that are kind of basic to jAER. Let's just stick with this median tracking filter as an example. Next thing that happens after the package definition is a bunch of imports, which are almost entirely automatically generated. Then there's the class definition. You see this median tracking filter extends an event filter 2D, and it implements a frame annotator. Event filter 2D is a basic event processing filter, and a frame annotator is a filter that actually draws graphics on top of the screen. This particular filter is just designed to track the median location of event activity from, for example, a dynamic vision sensor. Let's build the project here, or actually just run the project with the debug option. And I'm going to put a breakpoint here in the constructor by clicking here. And now if I run the project, I think it's still running here. It's still finishing building the project. Now it's starting up. And now it has opened a window here. And you'll come to the basic window. I'll change to the AE chip DBS128. It's a basic DBS128 by 128 pixel sensor. And now I'm going to click the filters window to find these enclosed filters. I'll click the overview button here to go over an overview of what filters are currently loaded. And now what I want to do is load this median tracking filter as a class. So I'll click select filters, and in this filter box up here, the search box, I'll click median, and then I will move this over to the selected classes. And you can see when I click on it, you see that it is a unknown development status. The class description is that it tracks a single object by median event location. Okay, so I've now put this in the selected classes list, and I'll say OK. And as soon as I do that, you see it actually puts a breakpoint because it's gone and constructed an instance of this filter. Let's just continue past the breakpoint for the moment. And now we come back to the filter list, and you see this median tracking filter is at the end of this list. These filters are processed in order, starting from XY type filter that allows you to filter in different locations of the image or types of cells on or off. There's another basic filter that allows you to rotate the image in various ways or transform it. There's a very useful background activity filter that filters noise activity that's not correlated. And there's various other filters here that I was playing around with. If I go and expose this median tracking filter here, we'll see the controls for this filter. So that concludes this tutorial on opening an existing event processing filter within NetBeans IDE for the jAER project. Later tutorials will talk much more about developing event processing filters. Let's just finish now by actually running this median tracking filter on some data. So I'll go and open a file that I've recorded. I'll switch to the appropriate chip object here, which is Davis 346 Mini, an experimental chip. And then I'll go to the filters window for this, and I'll see that in this chip I haven't yet added this median tracking filter. So let's select it again. This time it's much faster because it's already scanned the class path. And I'll go move this to the list of selected classes. Again, it breakpoints, does a breakpoint at the constructor. Let's get rid of that breakpoint by clicking on it, continuing. And now we see the median tracking filter. We'll expose the controls for this median tracking filter. In the meantime, I'm going to play a file which I recorded at the last Telluride neuromorphic workshop, which is a pendulum that's swinging back and forth. I believe this one actually includes frames as well. Yeah, you see the frames are very, very blurred out because there's the light level is extremely low, but yet the events are still there. And so we'll get rid of the frames here and just show how this basic median tracking filter runs without explaining how it works yet. It should actually show the controls for this, and it should report on the location of this. Let's scroll down to the bottom of the event output and see why it's not annotating the location of this object, because it is processing because the filter is enabled. If we reset it, and for some reason this filter is actually not annotating. And let's see why. Yeah, you see that in the code here of this experimental filter that somebody was playing around with, it's actually not drawing anything. So let's uncomment this code as we're running. I'm not sure why it's commented out. I see, so somebody commented it out. So let's delete this line with Control E and Control E. And then while this filter is running, we can apply code changes as long as we don't change the interface on methods. And it should now start to run this part of the code if it's working. And let's see that we're really getting to this breakpoint here. Did it successfully? Yeah. Now it's finished compiling the code and it's getting here. And now we see it actually draws on the event filter. So this capability of opening existing code, putting breakpoints that allow you to inspect what's happening with the data and how it then annotates the data using OpenGL is extremely useful for learning how to use jAER. We'll come back to this later in future tutorials.